What if Bryan is not the guy? Well, seemingly a lot of whispers from the locals in Idaho may be enough to cause reasonable doubt. Before we get into today's video though, I did want to let you guys know that this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. Good morning, my lovelies, my beauties, my friends. My name is Christina and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you will subscribe, stick around, take a chance in hearing some things that I have to say. And if you are a returning subscriber, y'all already know, y'all are my babies. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all are having a wonderful week so far. I did want to let you guys know before we get into this, if you don't know, my name is Christina. I have a second channel, which is Casually Christina. We just do things more casually over there. I also have a Patreon. My Patreon is for 18 and up, and over there we talk about more personal story times. We go live over there. I also have a $2 tier over there where all of the true crime stuff that can't go on to YouTube due to their terms and policies, that will be under the $2 tier on my Patreon. And I also have an Instagram, a Snapchat, Facebook, and now my videos are on Spotify. All of them are always linked down in the description box if you want to come and check me out. So for all of y'all that have been following this Idaho case like a hawk with me, we got some things to talk about today. And I've been sick with it, y'all. I'm not even going to lie. I have been down the rabbit hole thanks to so many of you guys. Since y'all are going down the rabbit hole, y'all want to take me with y'all. I'm not going to give you guys the backstory of the case. You know the backstory if you're here. If you don't, I have a whole entire Idaho 4 playlist where you can get all caught up. Other than that, we're just going to jump right in to where we're at right now. I have been hearing rumblings and rumors on the internet for a long time about different things. I have not wanted to speak on them because that's what they were, is rumors on the internet. But lately, there have been things that have been coming forward that's kind of piecing things together and making things seem like there could be some truth to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some of this stuff with you guys. We're going to talk about it. By the way, everything in this video is alleged. Everything that I'm going to talk about is public information. Go research it yourself, form your own opinions. Just don't show hate to anybody anywhere. We're going to go over it. I'm going to tell you guys why I think from what we know right now, okay, what we know right now, tomorrow a million new things could come out and it could just do away with everything that we already knew. But from right now, I think that there could possibly be a case for reasonable doubt when it comes to Bryan. But at the end of this, I'm going to tell you guys if my opinions have changed about him. I'm going to tell you guys just what I'm feeling about the Bryan Kohberger situation too. So make sure you guys stay all the way to the end. So we've all seen the evidence that has been released so far, right? The arrest affidavit where it showed his alleged cell phone pinging, where it talked about the DNA, it talked about the knife sheath, it talked about the going to his parents' house and seeing him putting trash in the middle of the night in his neighbor's trash cans, all of that good jazz. And the white Elantra, we've seen all that. So we know that evidence. However, there is something that I think we can all agree with on this case is there is so many pieces that are missing that we do not know yet. All we know is this little sliver of information that they have given us, but there is so much important stuff that we don't know. One of the questions I know that a lot of people have is how could one person go into this home, okay, where there are 6 people at, do what he did to 4 without any substantial screaming, hollering, nobody yelling for help allegedly, and get out and leave 2 people alive. Also without any footprints, red footprints or leaving any substantial DNA that we know of yet. These are questions that have been circulating, like how could one person do this? We also have the question of when Bryan first got arrested, he allegedly asked the arresting officers if anybody else had been arrested too. A lot of us believe that that is him just trying to, throw them off of his tracks, and maybe it was, but these are still questions that we have. Another question a lot of people have is Bethany. Bethany, the other roommate in the house, why was her statements not in the arrest affidavit at all? Why have we not heard what her side of the story is? And especially now that we know that the defense was trying to call her to the preliminary hearing as a witness for Bryan Kohberger, and she allegedly had information, according to the defense, that would completely exonerate Bryan Kohberger of these charges. Now, they could have been blowing smoke, but that's a question. Why do we not know what she said at all? We know parts of what Dylan said, but Bethany's testimony or what she told the police has been left completely out. Why? The grand jury indictment. That's a big one. A lot of us have just believed this whole time that the grand jury indictment happened in secret because they were trying to protect the other two witnesses. But there's a lot of whispers going on right now about that grand jury indictment, and it being possibly because they knew that in the preliminary hearing, Bryan could have gotten his case thrown out. So they went this route to buy them more time, allegedly. Now that seems like that could be a crock of BS, but then when you see the paperwork that the defense has filed since the grand jury indictment saying that they have still not received the evidence and the paperwork that the prosecution put forward. So why is the defense having to fight to find out what all evidence they have against their client? They should know by now, and they don't, unless the prosecution is still trying to build their case because it's not a strong case against Bryan Kohberger. Stay with me here. I'm laying out the foundation of all of this so we can roll into something. Another suspicious question that I'm seeing a lot on the internet that also makes sense is the initial police report. Why haven't we heard anything about it? I mean, yes, there is like a gag order now, but the initial police report should have been made public a long time ago. I mean, when it immediately happened, Bryan Kohberger was not arrested until December. Why does nobody know what happened when the cops showed up on the scene and made initial contact? We know that allegedly that they were called from a 911 phone call that came in at 11:58 a.m. about 8 hours after the crime happened, and that the call allegedly came in with somebody in a panic saying that somebody in the house was unconscious. But we have no idea what happened once the police got there, other than the paperwork saying that they went inside and they saw the crime scene. But what were the roommates saying? What were they saying happened? All of this stuff that would be in the police report, nobody knows. But why? That shouldn't have anything to do with the case of Bryan Kohberger unless these roommates said things that could hurt the case that they have against Bryan Kohberger. Another huge question is the 911 phone call. Why do we not know what happened in the 911 phone call? Even if they have not released the audio of it, why haven't they released the transcript? I mean, things like the police report, the initial one, and the 911 phone call shouldn't have anything to do with the Bryan case, unless, again, things were said that could paint a different story. That just does not make sense to a lot of people. And then the extremely strict gag order. If this case is such a home run, why is everything so secretive, even down to the point where allegedly the defense and Taylor and Bryan Kohberger's team is struggling to get the information from the prosecution as well? It is a bit weird, I will admit. When you think about all those things, it makes you go, wait a minute. What is going on with this? To make things even weirder, and y'all blew my mind when y'all sent me these videos. Oh my gosh, and these recordings. Now, I do want to say that I don't know these people for sure. Take it all with a grain of salt. The YouTubers or the content creators that interviewed these people allegedly have verified who they are, and all of this information will be linked down below so you can go and find these sources as well. There are 2 interviews that I know of just off the top of my head. One is from a mother of a student at Washington State University. This mother allegedly was talking to her daughter, and her daughter knew about the 4 students losing their lives at like 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, how would her daughter know about 4 students being stabbed to death at 10 o'clock in the morning when the police wasn't called until 11:58? Also, we all have the question of why Dylan didn't call the police when she saw the person in the clad black with the bushy eyebrows and the mask. She just shut the door. And there's this question, did she pass out? What happened? A lot of people are suspicious of her. There's just a lot of questions. I'm not saying she did anything wrong at all. I'm just saying there's questions. It's very strange that there's questions. Well, it makes it even more strange when you find out that there are students and even mothers saying, hey, my daughter told me 10 a.m. There's also another college student that has come forward and done interviews that allegedly knew the Idaho home and knew of things that went on there, who was in a group Snapchat with a lot of different people from the college. I know that this is a common thing. If any of y'all have college students or high school students, you know that they're on Snapchat and these group messages all the time. I know our oldest son definitely was before he joined the military. It's a normal thing. This guy said that he woke up on the morning that the 911 call came in about the Idaho situation where the Idaho students lost their lives. He said before 9 o'clock, and he knew for sure because he had to be at work. Work was 5 or 10 minutes up the road, so it was before 9 o'clock. When he rolled over that morning, he grabs his phone, he opens up his Snapchat like a college student does, and it's blown up with all of these group chats. And in the group chats, people are saying that somebody was dead at 1122 the Kings Road home.
You wake up in the morning on November 13th. Can you just describe your day?
So I don't remember like exactly when I woke up. I just remember like waking up and opening up my Snapchat, and there were dozens of Snapchat messages in all the group chats. And I just remember like, oh, this is kind of whack. And then I got up and I was like getting ready for work, and then like when I kind of like woken up a little bit more, I started to go through them because I did not want to have to read a lot of shit early in the morning. And then I ended up I was just sitting there scrolling through it, and then opened up the messages, and then there it was. It was like, holy shit, did you guys hear about what happened? Like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm scrolling up, and there's just, lines and lines and lines of text. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's awake. And this is before 9:30 on a Sunday. And I remember that because I had to go to work, and I ended up not going because I wanted to be with my brothers, right? Kind of obvious. But yeah, and it's like, I don't remember what exact time I woke up, but I remember, like, yeah, we were all talking about it. We all knew about it. And, like, my boss and my coworkers were texting me later, asking me, like, if everything was okay. And they had even heard about things. They heard, like, it was a shooting and stuff like that. So, and, yeah, it was kind of weird because, like, at the beginning, everyone said, like, at the beginning, like, the very, very first messages where people were talking about the stabbings,
Okay.
or, like a stabbing had occurred. And then it changed to an OD, and it was just kind of weird, like looking back on it, it changed to an OD so quickly, and like nobody questioned it, and like we didn't question it either because we knew there were drugs in that house, and like just genuinely thought like, okay, they got a bad batch, and that's just what happened, right? Because you see it on the news, it happens in bigger cities.
So you said you had to go to work, and you said you had to be to work at 9:30, so this would have happened before, like, you got to work?
No, this was definitely, and it was like a, I don't know, 5-10 minute drive to work, and like I had to like get ready too, so you're talking like well before 9 o'clock in the morning at least.
And it was alleged that in the beginning, it was rumors that somebody had OD'd, because this is another thing. Allegedly, it was a known drug house, which, again, college students, college house, it wouldn't be surprising, okay? We know that Moscow, Idaho is almost 50% college students. You could only imagine the stuff that's going on in that town. And then the other, a little bit more than 50%, I think it's like 60, 40, something like that, are the locals and the residents that run the shops and work and da. But this guy says that he was seeing these messages early in the morning, which makes it seem like somebody in that house possibly was texting out, which would make sense why Dylan called her friend or boyfriend to the house, and that person called 911 from her phone. She didn't call 911. She called somebody else first that came to the house.
Called 911. We're learning that the caller was not, repeat, not either of the two roommates who live in the house and apparently slept through the massacre. So the mystery is, who did make that 911 call to police, and how did that person make the gruesome discovery? I spoke with County Prosecutor Bill Thompson.
It's an essential part of the case. Whoever discovered the scene first, whoever initiated the contact with law enforcement is all part of understanding what occurred and the timeline of what occurred.
There's even more questions. And this is where I feel like we're getting to a place that there could be reasonable doubt. And I would just so strongly be like, none of this matters. The state's attorney has this. But the fact that they're being so secretive, even to the defense, who they legally have to give their findings to, seems weird. Seems a little like, what is really going on? Another theory that is going around, for those of you guys that don't know, when Bryan Kohberger first got arrested, people that knew him from his past were coming forward and making videos, like TikTok videos. Oh, I knew him from this.
I used to be friends with Bryan Kohberger.
Oh, I met him on Tinder. Different stuff like that. And one person particularly came forward, and she did different interviews with media sources, and she said that she knew Bryan Kohberger very well, and that she also knew that when he was younger, like in high school, he had a pretty bad problem. She actually, I believe, said it was heroin. Like, she said that he was actually quite overweight, and he lost a bunch of weight from using substances.
Yeah, he did use drugs. That's how I really know him too. He was a big heroin addict, and so was I. I got 6 years clean now. I work in treatment and everything, but back then I was using, and so that's how I know for a fact he was using. I've got high with him a couple times and used with him. And
a theory that's going around is that people in the Idaho home were selling. It was known to be this town, again, almost 50% college students, substances everywhere, and that's why Bryan Kohberger's phone pinged at that house so often. He was there picking up stuff. It is also rumored that possibly one of the surviving roommates was into this distribution as well as her boyfriend, which could be why the other surviving roommate's testimony is not in the affidavit, because she could have said that she knew that they did this and that Bryan came over to get stuff. That could be why his phone pinged. That could be why allegedly there's transfer DNA. Who knows? Now, there's so much that goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. And again, I wouldn't think any of this would matter if it wasn't for the prosecution being so secretive. It does seem like they're trying to keep something under wraps for some reason. I have thought from the beginning it was to protect the integrity of the case, and I still hope that that's exactly what it is. Now, you're going to ask, why in the world would they do this? Why would the prosecution in this situation go through all of this to try to keep things under wraps and maybe even charge somebody that it isn't? Well, I don't know. I don't believe that they would. I'm just going to tell you that. I don't believe that they would. However, the rumors people are talking on the internet are that, first of all, Moscow, Idaho is a college town. Again, that's where most of their money comes from. After the slayings of the college students, the kids were leaving. College students were leaving. I told y'all in the very beginning, if my son would have been in college there, I'd have done everything I could to get him home. Especially knowing that somebody wasn't arrested. Your kids aren't safe. there's somebody still out there. So they were under a lot of pressure from not only their community, but also the country and even the world to get somebody arrested. They had to get somebody so people would come back to school, people would come back and feel safe. And so therefore they worked really hard and they got what they believed is their guy. However, I don't know if the victims' families are thinking along these lines that we have just been talking about in this video, or if they've been doing their own research, or if it's pure coincidence. But I have been watching, the interviews, especially with Kaylee's family. Like if y'all are watching the interviews and have from the beginning with Kaylee's family, I mean, to me, they're the type of family like you connect with, right? Like, okay, I could go play volleyball with them and have a cookout with them, right? Like they're that type of people, very engaging and passionate, and they're fighting for their daughter and her best friend and the student's justice. But recently in the interviews, seemingly Kaylee's family have said more and more if they've got the right guy, if this is the guy. Now, I heard that, and it stood out to me, but I just figured, okay, they've got a lawyer that's letting them know you need to make sure to put this in there because to protect yourself, that's what I thought. But now I'm wondering if they're saying that because of all of this other stuff. And you guys, just in May, the victims' families reserved their right to sue the city of Moscow, Idaho. They haven't done it yet, but I also wonder if they could be reserving their right to sue Moscow, Idaho, if this case doesn't go through and it comes to find out that Bryan's not the guy and they don't have the guy and they don't know where the guy is or the girl or whoever did this, and they've put them all through this for nothing. And maybe it's just routine. Maybe it's just what they did, but maybe there's more to it that we don't know about. Now, what do I think? I think that there's still just so much more to that I have found out that I just couldn't even put it into this video. And let me know if you guys want me to do videos about multiple theories that I'm seeing out there. And I'm not just talking about seeing a comment in a comment section. I'm talking about seeing well laid out stuff. I try not to bring a lot of that to you guys, but in some of these cases that are going on and pieces are coming out, it's almost like I want to talk about those things with you guys. What do I think? I think as of right now, I still think Bryan's the guy. I don't know though. Again, this is my very unprofessional opinion. I think he's the guy. There's multiple reasons why I still think he's the guy. I think he's the guy, and I think the state's attorney know he's the guy, but I think that Bryan did a lot of smart things because he literally studied this. He studied this. He studied BTK, who, by the way, also entered a plea of standing silent. BTK did the same thing. And also BTK did his first killings at 28, and so did Bryan. Now, this could all be coinky-dink. I don't think Bryan lined those things up, but maybe he did. Who knows? But I still think that he is the guy. I think the prosecution knows he's the guy, but I think that they know that there's cracks in their evidence because it's so messy, because it's a college town, because there was parties and substances in the house and people were maybe drunk that night and there was all this other stuff going on, and they need to make sure their case is solid because they believe he's the guy. That's what I think. Why do I think that? Again, many different reasons. Do I think he went over there to buy substances? Possibly. Could be how he knew the layout of the house too. Could be how he knew how to get in. Could be why one of the roommates maybe even opened the door for him. But why did Bryan turn his phone off for those 2 hours during the killing? He pinged there a bunch of different times. But if he went there to buy substances or stock them or whatever he was doing, why would he need to turn his phone off at just those 2 hours unless he was doing something? That also brings me to the fact that there were no bloody footprints. I think Bryan could have been the type of person that was smart enough to figure that out and how to not leave those because he, again, studied these types of things. His online presence, allegedly, there are accounts of him being online afterwards. Let me know if you guys want me to do a deep dive into that with you guys, and we can. that seems like something Bryan could do. Also, I don't know if you guys watched the Dateline episode that they did on the Idaho situation a couple weeks ago. There wasn't a ton of new information in there, but one of the things that stood out to me was the sister. And I'm actually going to leave this article linked down below as well, but it's titled, Bryan Kohberger's sister searched his car for evidence before the police swooped in. So this takes place when Bryan drove his car back with his dad all the way back to Pennsylvania. His own sister thought that he could have been the guy. She thought it was suspicious that he was wearing gloves, he was acting funny. She went out there and searched his car, but she did not know that he had already completely wiped down his car, bleach wiped, vacuumed it out. I mean, again, all of this could not be, in my opinion, a big coinkydink. But the court does not have to prove that he's the guy. All the defense has to do is give enough reasonable doubt. They just have to give enough reasonable doubt that it could have been somebody else. It was even said that allegedly Bryan Kohberger's father kind of got into it with Bryan's sister because he was defending his son. I mean, again, we talked about this in videos back. You can only imagine how he felt. He flew to Idaho to drive back with his son. He probably thought it was like the best thing in the world, like his college son who's got a master's degree asks him to take a road trip with him. They're going to stop at different places and eat vegan food and drive and talk and da-da-da-da. And the dad would never want to believe that the reason why his son had him do that was because he was trying to hide the car that was now plastered all over the news, in the newspaper, all over social media, that people were looking for a white Elantra. But the sister, she was suspicious of her own brother. And she thought it was weird that all of a sudden he was wearing latex gloves inside the house and outside the house. So again, as of now, I still think Bryan's the guy. But all of these other factors do make me nervous because they don't have to prove that he didn't do it. They just have to create doubt. So what do you guys think? Have you heard about all these things? Does it make you go, why in the world would students be talking about this in Snapchat conversations at allegedly 9 o'clock in the morning when the police weren't called until almost noon? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Other than that, I love you guys. Thank y'all so much for being here, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.